Hello everyone and welcome to the 2022 Throwdown the Mountain 10 presented by Sun King Disc and Discraft. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined alongside Nate Perkins. And Nate, your first time at the historic Grand Canyon. How exciting.
Yeah, really exciting, Terry. This place has been calling my name for years. We are about 40 minutes north of Tampa Bay and about 40 minutes east of the Gulf of Mexico at this beautiful property. There is nothing else here. It's a cow pasture and a disc golf course.
Yeah, a temporary one at that. Mike Barnett and Sun King Disc, along with a massive crew and staff, actually get this property ready to be used just for a few weeks out of the year, and hence a temp course that has now become legendary year after year. And look at this. What a treat. David Wiggins.
I can't believe it.
Multiple-time world champion, distance world record holder, and is coming back into the scene, and he's got a putter off the tee of one.
And Charlie Goodpasture, Florida native, throwing Castoplast.
Yeah, if you've seen any disc golf coming out of Florida on coverage, it probably had Charlie in it somewhere. Every time I show up, Charlie's performing well enough to be there on a card.
K1 Berg from Charlie.
I guess we should introduce this guy, right? Paul McBeth, five-time world champ, says he loves the property out here. It's a little, Luna action off the tee of one, 231 feet.
Yep. Yeah, I love to see it, Terry. I mean, it's cool to see Paul playing an event like this that isn't, a Silver Series or an Elite Series just because he likes the course.
Yeah, really likes the property. He's been coming for a long time, and a little double, triple skipper for yourself. Good to have you here. And is it ever weird to do any commentary on play that you just performed?
I think it can be weird to just watch yourself sometimes, but I think honestly it's good to see how your body language looks compared to, some of the best players in the world. So,
well, and kicking it off with a birdie, and now David Wiggins hasn't been here for like 6 or 7, maybe even 8 years, and you've never seen the property. You just showed up and said, hey, how's that saying go? Where's hole 1 and what's the course record?
You got it, Terry. Oh, David squeaking it in left side there. Yeah, it was honestly a real treat to be on this card, getting my first look at the course. And we had a few changes on the course, Terry. We've got to mention hole 1 is one of those changes. Normally, it's another 60 or 70 feet back further down the hill, so it kind of turned it into a much easier birdie to start.
Yeah, and there are a number of, because of an incredible rainfall and storm that rolled through the night before, actually there's 4 or 5 holes that ultimately got changed, and we'll kind of break those down. But like you just mentioned, hole 1 certainly comes in shorter, and here's our first par 4, hole number 2.
Yeah, pretty small gap off the tee. You have to hit this little 120-foot corridor and kind of push that left side. You don't want to push too straight or it pinches off your angle into the green.
So after the star frame to open, Wiggins, I've never seen a putter thrown off the tee of 2 here.
Yeah, he said that he was setting this P2 shot up for an over-the-top shot. I believe he even said that he might throw a grenade, but he pushed that one a little too straight.
Thank you.
Ideal shot from Charlie with his lots.
And that is considered casual water down there. That's always the collection area. And then with the recent rain, usually it's just damp and muddy. Today, because of the rain from the previous night, it's actually filled with water. But that is casual. No penalties there.
And we're going to see that disc from McBeth quite a lot this round. That's an Undertaker. A gentle hyzer. And I'm flipping my night strike up a little too much and get a pretty fortunate kick out into the pasture.
I'm going to make a Goodpasture joke there. Anyway.
All right, I'm certainly out of position here. I'm going Cloudbreaker 2.
And at this point, you're really just throwing to an area. Not only don't you necessarily know the perfect landing zone, but in general, even if you did know where you needed to throw perfectly, you kind of just have to throw it up there and hope you're going to trickle through and give yourself a look.
And you can see just how pinched you really get if you go too straight off this tee. But David throws a great shot. He's inside the circle.
And you see that water right next to the basket as well. Same thing. That water, I've never seen water there before. And unfortunately, I'm going to probably say that a number of times throughout this round.
Did it go all the way?
And there is a fence that he was actually pushing to the right side. That's why he was worried about that fence on that right side. There's some barbed wire, and that is out of bounds if he carries another 10 feet to the right.
Pushing that zone a little deep there, but he's going to have a small window coming back.
Somewhat obstructed for yourself here, end uphill?
Pretty open, just outside the circle.
And it plops in again. Kind of a unique collection spot to have a puddle up there of that size. Wiggins, however, is obstructed.
Terry, I was blown away to find out that David Wiggins is only 26 years old.
Well, when you've got 5 amateur world or 5 junior world titles, an AM world title, and then a countless distance records, you'd probably think he is a little bit older.
Yeah.
But he's been a stud ever since he was like 6 or 7 years old. Here's McBeth for birdie.
Oh, what a putt. I didn't realize it was that obstructed. Tiny little window that he just putt through.
So he's off to a good start. 2 for 2. Charlie hoping to follow that up with a birdie of his own.
He's trying to lob this over the top.
I think he had a few less options.
I really did not want to just toss it into the mud puddle. Say it was more over this way.
This is great that you put this in there. Yeah, we literally couldn't find the P2 for nearly a minute.
Yeah, and I left this in here specifically because I wanted the viewers in the world to know really how kind of casual water works. And the fact that you're not penalized, you know, even though you're in this water because it's deemed casual.
Don't get your hair wet, Nate.
I think it's back.
Oh, nice, Terry, giving us.
Yeah, trying to help.
pointers.
I knew it wasn't. Yeah, that area is where I was thinking, right between Charlie and Paul. I think it was like
And so then once we find it, you know, I've got to make the decision of whether or not I want to get in the water for my 8-foot putt or kind of take relief and putt, you know, a 14-foot putt back at the bucket.
You are all in on finding it. Charlie, meanwhile, taps in for the par.
We need to call Cody to do a belly flop into this. I'm just not going to do it.
And while you get yourself into position, Dave's also going to tap in for his par. And so ultimately, you decided you're going to leave it in there, and then you're going to just go right directly behind the casual water. That's a solid putt. And your alternative, just so the world knows, is you could have actually gotten in there and played directly where the disc was. Obviously, at that point, you're sacrificing getting yourself wet for it.
Paul's such a nice dude. He really is, if anyone's wondering out there. He was walking me through this entire round. He was like, Nate, you just want to throw your FD right over here.
All right, now we take a look over at hole 3.
Yeah, we've got a barbed wire fence right on our right. Here's another kind of 150-foot corridor that you have to hit to get into play. And it's a very specific landing zone. You want to land somewhere here on this road. Anything short, and it just really pinches your angle. And then you see we have another OB fence once you climb that hill. And there's Paul with another just gentle hyzer with that Undertaker. I don't think the spotter
fully was ready to go there.
I don't think he knew that disc was coming in.
To his credit, I talked to him in the morning, and he was out there all day, and this was his last group of the day. I think he was ready to call it. Said he was out there last year as well, so we appreciate the efforts.
Okay, and there's David Wiggins with a brand new 11-time KC Pro Rock. And that looks a little early, and it is. It's a bad spot. Really pinches that angle off.
It's usually a backup here, and there's been some interesting conversations throughout the year, including Austin Turner showing off his newest tattoos up on this tee pad. We've had some interesting talks.
Was that the year that he beat Climo?
It might have been 17? Actually. Yeah, I'm starting to think about all the years here. It's been a wild ride. This is also the very event where I met Calvin Heimberg for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Many, many years ago. So,
yeah, Calvin's dad came up to watch this first round. They're from just about an hour away from Brooksville.
And we're going to have Calvin also on the feature card, or maybe you've already watched the other feature card coverage with Calvin and crew on it, as we see a little pitch out there by Goodpasture. And you, like him, not a lot of options here. Just trying to get out and push yourself a little ways up the fairway.
Yeah, pretty pinched here. I'm getting real greedy trying to break this night strike all the way over and just don't quite give it the pace, and I find that OB fence.
Unfortunately, a popular, that's a common play, is people just kind of not getting over on it enough and getting on the other side of the fence. Paul's in great position. He goes with the standstill.
And look at that, just inches above that hill. Perfect shot, 3 for 3.
There's Charlie's third.
So funny when you feel like you misfire. It's like.
So now here's Wiggins for his third. Usually not too mad with a 4 here. I mean, you need to throw a couple of perfect shots to walk away with a birdie. So I feel like 4 is a perfectly acceptable score.
Look, there he is again, helping me out.
That's the pro move. I helped Paul do that same thing a couple days ago. But that's the pro move, is a little bit of help, and then Paul reminding you that you get 2 meters off the barbed wire.
This guy. Yeah, what a great approach from Paul to be that close.
And that'll drop you back to even with the bogey.
I'm Garrett Girthy. People know me as Double G. I've been making Double G craft jerky since I was 16 years old.
When I have Double G's craft jerky and I pull it out of my bag during a round, the first thing anyone asks is that Double G's craft jerky? And I always bring the big bag because I know I'm gonna have to share it.
I'm a big fan of beef jerky, and I have to say that Double G beef jerky is absolutely my favorite I've ever found.
I'm always looking forward to digging my hand in my next bag of Double G craft jerky.
You can find Double G craft jerky at doublegjerky.com.
Now we head over to the tunnel, a hole 4.
It's a par 3, but probably the toughest par 3 out here. The fence is on the right, doesn't really come into play. This low ceiling and these early gaps are what kind of make the hole difficult. And then actually accessing the green here is nearly impossible to climb that hill, especially with the ground kind of being a little muddy. It's hard to get that extra skip.
And that's a great shot. I know it's not parked. He's not right next to the basket, but just in general, that's a pretty good shot. It gives you a look at the birdie, but it's free and clear of trouble. And here's Wiggins again with a rock.
Ooh, and just a bad slip on the tee pad there.
And that is going to be very punishing due to that slip. I just think, who's throwing a mid-range 406 feet down a tunnel?
It's pretty ambitious to be throwing the mid on this. I mean, it's 375 on this just low ceiling, too, before you can even consider getting to that hill.
And what are you throwing here?
I'm going Cloudbreaker.
It's a great stand-up, gets flat, carries up the hill with a little skip forward. And again, to the shorter pin, that's, you know, almost perfect. But even to this longer pin that we've seen the last few years, that's still a look at birdie. And I think I told you, that's definitely the nicest forehand shot I've ever seen on this hole.
I don't think I could have thrown it too much better, really.
There you go. And Wiggins not able to get out as he's pinched on this left side. Now he's got to stand still.
Pushing that hillside. Oh, what a horrible reaction. Off the hill, finds the fence that really is hard to get to. He's taking a huge number on this hole.
Yeah, just some early trouble, and then that's just insult to injury, you know, to have it roll out of bounds. I mean, that skips just a little bit left. It could find itself all the way up there next to the basket, but instead catches edge and rolls the other way. And Charlie, after a pretty decent drive, is going to leave himself a little work to do just to save the par now. So I believe that was for his 5. Meanwhile, you and McBeth are chatting, having sandwiches over here, waiting for all these other throws.
This is to go 4 for 4. He's probably at the 50-foot range. It's hard to get all your legs into it when you're on a slope like that and you don't know if your feet are going to give out. You can see I'm actually kind of trying to dig my foot in to make sure I have a solid place for my legs to push off.
Yeah, and this is, you know, tough even in really dry conditions, but with the recent rain. Oh, you had the power. That's a good bid. And it sat, which is very important here. There's Charlie to save par. So Wiggins will tap in for the very tough triple bogey. I don't want to spoil everything, but I'm going to just tell you that is a very, very tough birdie to come by for any division on any given weekend. We see a couple of pars, which still feel pretty good.
I think so. Three plays here. All right, hole 5 is another downhill, kind of a blind hyzer. You don't want to push too straight. It's more of a stall hyzer than it is a penetrating hyzer. A really tricky one to kind of gauge.
Yeah, and coming in short and left is going to be punishing as well. You need to make the corner, and Paul's done that, puts himself inside 25 feet. The miss here is long. I know you're saying you want it to stall, but if you have a choice of either being a little bit long or a little bit short, Long might filter through. Short is going to hang you up and put you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you could definitely bogey if you don't make the corner.
And you've done just that, a little too straight,
Mm-hmm.
but it still gives you a look.
Oh, and that was honestly going to be parked if it just
Missed the
snuck by
trunk,
that.
yeah. Dave, is this another rock?
It is another rock, yeah.
He's just like, I'll throw it on every shot. Doesn't matter what angle.
And just a little too straight on that one as well.
Little low ceiling, you see?
A little bit of a ceiling, yeah, but this one feels really makeable. Just not quite the power to get there. Looks like Charlie's a little bit more obstructed here.
Dave's about circle's edge. And that's a great bounce back, too. Just think about that, you know, just for your mental well-being after, you know, coming off that really tough triple bogey. Bounces right back with the birdie. Here's McBeth. And he's bouncing back, too. I mean, that really tough par he just took. And now he's got to somehow find a way to dig deep and get another birdie. So he pushes to 4 under.
He really treats those kind of 15 to 18 footers so casually.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool to see you guys throwing 500-foot hyzers all day long.
Charlie enjoys the tour as we head over to the next one.
Okay, it's another kind of blind hyzer where the difficulty of the tee shot is kind of gauging how far you want to push your hyzer. If you push it too straight, you go into the sawgrass, which might as well be OB. And if you don't make the corner, you're taking birdie completely out of the question. Paul just going Raptor here. Not biting too much off the tee, but you don't need too much.
Yeah, and you saw just how casual that really was as you see the card up in front of them. Yeah, it's not necessarily about gaining that distance. It's just making sure you find a good spot in the center of that shortcut grass. That's almost a little too far out to the right, so to speak, from the tee, but that'll work. And that's middle of the fairway.
Pretty good
looking
spot. Charlie's going to bite off a little bit more right here with the Grim.
And it still barely looks like he throws it, and he actually gets quite a bit more distance than the rest of you guys, and it only looked like it was 80% power.
I've always said, Terry, that disc golf is best served downhill. It's just a lot more fun to play throwing shots downhill, and I think that's one of the appeals of this place is, you know, it's really is like a miniature mountain, you know?
Yeah, especially if you're not from the area, and you know, someone like yourself or me who have had the pleasure of traveling all around the country or the world playing a lot of different topography. For Florida standards, yes, this is an old, you know, limestone pit, I believe, or whatever, but it feels mountainous compared to the rest of Florida. It's going to be a little bit short on that right side.
You can see just how steep they have to throw when they aren't quite in the center of that fairway, and Charlie finds the last Guardian Pine right there. That's kind of an unfortunate break.
And really, that was the angle he wanted. I mean, that was just inches from being parked. So you saw that it kept out of the mouth. Dave, coming from the right side sawgrass, just pitches up. That looks like a par from there. Charlie with a birdie look. All right. Well, it sits down for him. That had the chance to roll at least 30 or 40 feet away.
It almost crested that hill right there.
McBeth just collecting birdies.
Yeah, that was one of the prettier shots that he threw. I thought during the round was that turnover with the Luna. I mean, he was first to throw his second shot, and it just surprised me that he went with the putter from like 320 out, kind of a left to right Annie.
And not too shabby yourself.
Yeah, I was feeling good about this approach.
Easy tap in. And that's one of my favorite holes to watch get played out here. The par 4, hole 6. Big shout out to my boys at Pastry Dyes who are doing incredible things, helping us get tons of additional footage out there this weekend as well. Here we are on 7.
Yeah, we take a cool little path up the hill from 6's basket to get to this tee pad, and here's another low ceiling straight shot. Basket is kind of guarded. You really have to throw straight, and you kind of want to play this one off the ground. Get a little skip.
Yeah, coming in short is certainly the play.
Yeah, if you're dead in line with the pin and you're 30 feet long, you might not even have a putt on this one. This is my signature series Zin, Terry.
I was just going to ask. I didn't recognize a stamp or anything on top of there. And what is that fly like for you typically if you're throwing it well?
It's my straightest flying fairway. It's 8 speed, slightly understable. And David is going rock here, rock 3.
Yeah, and that was just low and a little too much hyzer right out of his hand. However, a little low, trying to ride a skip shot, to the pin isn't the worst play here.
This is the Cax from Charlie. Sorry, Charlie and Castaplast, if I don't pronounce them all.
Cax.
Yeah, what is it, Terry?
I think it's a... I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but...
I think it's a Coxe, but I
like
we
that a
could
little
both be
better.
wrong. Who knows? Wiggins has to be careful here because it's not so much just the slope. It's really nasty behind the pin, as you're kind of alluding to. And thankfully that sits down. But if that carries another 10 feet, you may have no look at the basket. Behind the pin is just treacherous here. Charlie with a good angle here. All right, going to remove a little extra mud picked up probably on the way to the pin.
That was a really awkward reaction. Yeah. It looked like Charlie putts with that steep hyzer angle, and it looked like he was already in the basket on the pole and just kind of catches that last nub. And
McBeth,
he just has one par.
Yeah, back on, arguably the most difficult hole, par 3 on the course.
And the rest of the card is just...
You guys are like, well, this is fun. we'll keep throwing.
And Paul, he's so casual about it. And I know that he probably doesn't have this same attitude about every tournament. He probably treats an A-tier like this like a little bit more of like a, keeping in shape kind of thing. But he is just so relaxed out here, Terry.
Yeah,
it honestly makes it kind of bleeds over. I was kind of picking up on some of that, just staying relaxed and confident, not really stressing about what's happening.
Big shout out to our friends over at Sandy Point Resort, northern Wisconsin. One of my favorite places on the planet. Here we are, hole number 8.
All right, this one's really cool. It says 429. It seems a bit longer. It's a towering Annie for the right-hand backhand. It's got one little hill. You're kind of even with the pin, but you're throwing downhill and then back up the hill. You can see Paul is just not getting that Zeus to turn all the way over. And he's in there rough, but he can make something work from there. He's almost pin high right there.
Yeah, and he's lucky that stayed within the wooded area over there, because deeper to the left you would find an OB line. And then yours just is a little short of getting to the mouth.
Yeah, pretty undercommitted forehand from there, and that's actually a pretty bad spot. And here's David with a PD. And that's the first time in the round that he actually kind of opens up. And let me tell you, he can still hit the disc pretty hard.
Yeah, you don't hold all those world distance records throughout decades for nothing. And David getting into his own business and doing stuff with ships, which is what he went to school for. And awesome to see him back out here. And Charlie with one of the better shots you'll see ever thrown on this hole. That's exactly what you're looking to do.
I'm with you, Terry. That was gorgeous. That was his Tour Series Lots.
David has work to do to try and get up and over, and unfortunately that carries to the other side of the fairway. And he could do without a roll. And maybe even worse, that's going to be still somewhat obstructed. Speaking of obstruction,
it's never good when you're lining up a forehand roller from
under 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Uphill.
That's exactly.
But that you couldn't have thrown another one that well, could you? In 100 tries?
No, I don't.
I mean, that was perfect.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky right there.
I mean, lucky or skill, but either way, it's right where you needed.
All right, this is a good look at how tight. He doesn't have much.
And I know McBeth's elbow and arm aren't feeling 100%, so you're seeing him really not go to forehands unless he has to. I mean, it's not like an Eagle McMahon scenario, but, he's just trying to stay away from them. And so he went to the forehand there and wasn't able to hit the gap he was looking for. Not that he had much of one. Wiggins to save par.
Is he human?
This is to possibly take his second par in a row, or a second par of the round, I should say. And off his line, and hole 8 takes a little bite out of the McBeast. Speaking of taking a bite out of things, I got some Double G jerky to give away. Of course, we're in Florida, and Double G supports me year-round, and he works with McBeth and the foundation and the Double G Foundation. So go ahead and leave a comment. What do we want them to answer here, Nate?
I was going to say, when was the last time that David Wiggins won a title? What year did he last win a title?
There you go. I like it. Yeah. Put in the comment, or any David Wiggins story. If you've been watching any of his videos for distance, any of those, give us some David Wiggins love. That'll make you eligible, as we see Charlie with one of the rare birdies on 8.
I like that a lot better. Just tell us your best David Wiggins story.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people who are like, who's David Wiggins? Well,
truly, yeah. There were
do
people
your homework,
here.
folks.
Yeah.
Fuzzy ones. Some people get them bad. Yeah, they're real fuzzy. This one's got a little mohawk to him. He's pretty. What color? Tan.
They're educating us on the dangers of the caterpillars.
Some very specific ones that are out here that are not pleasant at all. You're exactly right. Now, speaking of danger, hold 9.
Another one up on top of a ridge, low ceiling, pretty much dead straight ton of danger if you hit early, and there is a barbed wire fence on the right if you get a bad kick.
Up on this spine here. Charlie with the honors, riding from that birdie on the previous hole. Paul gets one back closer to you guys, but still a little bit of a sizable lead at this point. Hitting something's fine on this hole. Staying on the spine is what's really crucial, because a bad kick to the left or right are going to add up strokes real quick. Is that the cloud breaker again?
Same cloud breaker. Yep. Just kind of leaning on it when not really feeling too comfortable with the gap so early off the tee, you know. This guy definitely feeling confident, just lacing it. And normally you're going to see that hit and skip up on top of the ridge, but it's just muddy enough that they're kind of sticking.
That looked like a mid as well, maybe even a putter out of Wiggins.
Yeah, that was that KC Pro rock again, and that one actually looked like it was going to have the power to get there, and just catches a ninja branch.
Give it to me.
Circle's edge look for Charlie to save the par. Just short arm that. You know, he had the gap he was trying to hit, and then I just think that awkward cross body motion, and next thing you know, just pulls it up a little short, and he's got this left for par. And a firm bid leaves him with a tester, actually.
Yeah, David's having a tough time on these par threes.
See if McBeth can bounce back after the birdie, or correction, the bogey on the previous hole.
Pretty surprised to see him miss that.
Yeah, there's only one thing you can say: washed up. Okay. And were you a little nervous or undercommitted there? What left side?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew, and I could share with you and everybody else out there. It just sometimes it goes in, and then sometimes it airballs.
I mean, you gave it power. I mean, uphill, you gave it enough power. You know, so it was certainly firm enough in that regard, just not on the mark. Charlie for par. Solid.
And just look how steep he putts it on Heiser.
Wiggins for his bogey.
Man, look at that backdrop, though. This is just really a beautiful property. All these towering oaks with the Spanish moss that kind of hangs down.
It's a hill behind you, but it didn't seem to affect you whatsoever. McBeth's going to tap in for the par, and we're going to tap out of the front nine, guys. This has been a lot of fun, Nate. Love watching you play. I know you've been playing a little bit more lately, popping in and out of tournaments, lots of different media obligations. Thank you for joining me here.
Yeah, thanks for being down here and filming. It's these kind of tournaments. I think that there's a lot of people out there that want to view these kind of events, and you're making it happen, and I'm happy to be joining you on this coverage.
Well, thanks. Couldn't do it without our friends at Sun King and all the Patreon subscribers and all the sponsors you've seen throughout. That is your front nine. We'll see you guys on the back nine, a round one for one of our 2 MPO feature cards. We'll see you in the back.